Hello and welcome back to Business Sense and Emotional Intelligence. You're watching Sarah Hopwood and I'm delighted to say I have David Fordham here with me, and David was talking in the first half about what the company that you work with, MetaCube, do, and you gave a few examples of working with them, and I just wanted to say you are CEO and you're heading up, I think, the UK side of the business.
Yeah.
Who are you looking for and how can they find you?
Sure, thank you. So I mentioned in the first half that our tagline is Trusted PDO,
Yes.
so product development outsourcing. And our primary market in the UK at the moment is Salesforce App Exchange partners who are writing or creating products in Salesforce, and we help them with that. But really, any company that is developing a product, a mobile app, or a product around a website, or any product that requires development, we provide that service, and we also augment that with support and advisory services around that as well. So yeah, any company that is building a product, we're happy to help them.
Fantastic. And we're going to come back to augmentation in a moment. But before we do, I'm very interested in emotional intelligence.
Yes.
and future proofing. And just before filming in for the second half, you were talking about the fact that robots are made for specific purposes, and they are already actually being programmed to recognise emotional stimulation. But you said already that if, for example, we as human beings are masking our emotions, then the robot will misread what's going on anyway. So there are still flaws there. But anyway, in discussion, you mentioned two particular robots that have been programmed for two very different reasons.
Sure.
Could you tell us more about them?
Yeah, these are quite famous and well-known robots. So Asimov, who is particular, I like Asimov. He's been on many programs and on the internet quite a lot. The purpose of Asimov is agility. So Asimov was created to be very human-like in movements. It's a very human-like robot and able to do incredible things with agility, standing on one leg, jumping up and down, picking things up, moving around, shaking people's hands very gently, and just incredible things which seem quite natural because it's a very human looking robot. So, but when you think about what needs to happen in the background for him to be able to do that, it's quite complex.
Is he the one I've seen on the bicycle and running up and down stairs and falling over and jumping back up again?
Yeah, exactly.
And they were even throwing in obstacles to watch it trip.
Yeah.
Navigate that and jump back up again.
Exactly. And the AI piece is taking the the visual. He's got two cameras and all of the sensors built in, and actually taking that and navigating the world around the robot, which is quite incredible. But the purpose is agility, to be able to navigate that world physically. Whereas the other robot that we spoke about, one called Sophia, which is a robot designed around being able to have conversations. So it's a robot with a very human face. Hands and looks very human-like, and is actually programmed and purposed to have conversations and to be able to react to what your face is doing and to be able to react to what you're saying. We mentioned natural language. So to take the language, to take what you're saying, translate it into language, and then work out what the likely next best thing is to say in response to whatever it is that you've said. Or if you're smiling, then the robot would react to that. But again, its purpose is around that conversation. It's actually not a very agile robot at all. Right. It's a bit clunky, it's a little bit of a gimmicky one, but it is one that is learning. So every conversation teaches it about that interaction, and every conversation helps it to grow its kind of knowledge of how to react to certain situations.
So is Sophia the one that you can hear on the end of the phone with somebody phoning trying to book a hair appointment? I don't, are you familiar with that?
I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that one. No, but it's certainly the one that has become a citizen of, I think it's Saudi Arabia. Certainly there's a country.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
I knew a robot had.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already touched on the fact that of course there are then flaws, because if for example Sophia is engaging and reading body language basically is what we're saying, then already there's a flaw there, because we as human beings can mask very, very well.
Indeed. And also things like culture have to be programmed.
Yes.
So if you put Sophia into different countries, their different way of communicating and different way of actually behaving, that would have to be taught to Sophia by algorithms, by programming that in. And again, it would be within a fixed kind of sphere of how to engage in that particular scenario.
So do you think robots will take over the world?
Personally, not take over the world, but I think I'm very excited about robots. I think robots are helping in enormous areas. I mean, if you take medicine, for example, and the ability for robots to help surgeons actually perform amazing surgery without hand tremors or anything like that, because the robot handles all of that for them. It's an incredible area, and one that I personally embrace.
Yes, and I have met people on both sides, those who embrace, and like yourself, who are completely tied up in the world of robots and AI, and then there are others that are quite frightened, and some are even burying their heads. You mentioned about augmentation. Could you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people are quite frightened about what robots and it's particularly AI can do, and let's take robots off the table for a second. If you've got a situation, let's say for example a call center representative, someone who is on the phone every day dealing with customers, you can have, for example, artificial intelligence either listening into the conversation and translating the conversation to text and understanding what's being said and the tone of language and the kind of words being said. If it's a verbal conversation, or the same if it's a chat conversation, intercepting and interpreting what's going on, and actually augmenting that conversation by either putting up information on the screen that call handler can use, like this person's getting agitated, or that kind of thing, or actually can take if that customer is using sort of dissatisfaction words or tone or language that could become a problem in that conversation, the AI can go and alert a supervisor to bring them into that conversation to sort of protect and help the call handler. So AI can augment that conversation by providing additional information, or by bringing in different processes while that conversation's happening. If that makes sense.
So if I think of augmentation in music, it means to slightly adjust up and what have you. Are we set? Can you give me what augmentation? What does it mean? What is the definite? If I was looking it up in the Oxford Dictionary,
Sure.
what does or if we roughly, just so that people can really grasp, are we saying about going and getting almost like a second opinion, or?
So if you're doing a particular job, the computer is taking your skills and adding to them.
So it's the adding.
So it's adding, it's augmenting, it's providing additional skills and additional support and help to what you're doing. So like the surgeons, using AI to help with surgery, or the call handler. Another one would be, and a typical one actually, is in sales situations where salespeople are trying to sell a particular product, and AI can actually augment them with what the next best action is. So if they're going through a particular conversation or process with a customer, the AI may take that background, that data that we spoke about in the first half, that big data on what customers are likely to do in certain circumstances, and actually tell the salesperson, okay, because you're here, we know that the next best thing you should do is this, and that may help you with selling this particular type of product.
Yeah. Fantastic. David, thank you so much for joining us on the
My pleasure.
programme. You've been listening to David Fordham, who is CEO from Metacube. Can you just remind me, how do people find you if they want you?
So metacube.com is our website, and we have an office in Brighton, Morcatter House, Trafalgar Place in Brighton. So look us up and do get in touch.
Yeah. David's up for a coffee anytime if you want to have a chat with him. And please remember, emotional intelligence is very empowering, and AI is not to be frightened of, but learn up on emotional intelligence and it will empower you and instill you with confidence and show you your way forward. So have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much indeed.